Hello!
Hi.
Hey, friends. Hope you
How
all are
is
doing well.
how's the internet today?
What you guys up to?
AKA where all of you live in my imagination.
Just in the amorphous void that is the internet. I see Dale, I see Cal, I see Sin, I see John. How y'all doing? Yeah, we're gonna talk about. We have not actually done a Mandalorian stream yet, because like it ended and then it was the holidays and then I was on vacation and then I was sick, so we've not actually done one of these. This is the first, in spite of my obsession, this is the first thumbnail I've allowed Baby Yoda on. I figure it's safe now. No one's gonna yell at me for spoilers.
I mean, and also, the Rise of Skywalker happened,
Well,
and
that too. That just did that come out? I didn't notice. I'm not aware that movie's out. I think that
you've
movie's
only
just
seen it 6 times now.
7.
7. There you go.
And it still feels like a fever dream every time I watch it, for whatever that's worth. But we're here to talk about a different force using healer, because this show is really about. I've said it a couple times in my reviews. My interest in the episodes is directly related to how many memeable Baby Yoda moments there were. So like people would be like, "Oh, this episode's great," and I'd watch it. I think it was like the Tatooine one, and I was like, "Well, actually, that one got some heat anyway." But like, I was like, I mean, it had like 2 seconds of Baby Yoda, so I was like, "Oh, it was all
So,
right." But no, actually, everyone has heard my thoughts at length. What would you say are your just like what's your like general overview thoughts on this first season of The Mandalorian?
well, I will say a couple things. One, I was anticipating that I would like this show. Like
Yep.
I was the target demographic for this from the start.
Yep.
So like even before we had seen any of it, I was anticipating this was going to be a show that was made for me.
Mm-hmm.
I love Mandalorians, obviously, and the Mandalorians that we've seen and the culture behind it all, and like I've just been enraptured by that for a long time. So
Mm-hmm.
like I was anticipating that it would be a thing that I enjoyed anyway, but I did not anticipate that it would be anything like important,
Right.
that it would do anything to like change the way I think about Star Wars,
Right.
or change like the way I think about Mandalorians, or have like implications for anything larger. One, because I didn't think that they would do that with a Disney Plus show,
Right.
but also just because of the subject matter, I didn't think it would. Like I was expecting like bounty hunter adventures that would kind of happen in their own little world.
Mm-hmm.
And so like as I'm watching the first episode, and you had already seen it
Yeah,
by the time I did, because I think you got up early to watch the first
I
one.
did. I took
and
the day off
and then a
work.
lot of times and then a lot of times after that I ended up watching them before you did.
Yeah.
But the first one, like I was digging it. I'm like, okay, bounty hunter stuff, collecting bounties,
Mm-hmm.
IG8, like all that stuff is there.
Yeah.
Or 11, but well, like all that stuff was there, and like, all right, I'm digging this. I've spoken. Yep, yep,
Mm-hmm.
feeling it, vibing really hard.
Yep.
And I get to the end, and I was like, oh no, this is different now. Like, like I was like, it's not like that made me necessarily enjoy it more, but
Right.
like it confounded my expectations at this point. I'm like, oh, now like this is very different. Like this is no longer anything that I thought it would be. Um,
Yep.
but
No.
and I think
Yeah.
that was true of the whole run of the series. I think there
Yep.
were episodes that I enjoyed more or less than other ones.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, like I was already anticipating enjoying this.
Mm-hmm.
I I in no way anticipated liking it to the extent that I did, or for the reasons that I did.
Right.
I mean, because like even in the first episode where we see, him get the Beskar, and we see the Mandalorians underground, and we meet
Mm-hmm.
the armorer, like all of that I was just so in for.
Yep.
And then we meet Baby Yoda at the end, and I'm like, wait, okay, like this is a new thing now.
Well, and that
Um,
that moment is so beautifully constructed, and I genuinely like, as much as I love the meme that is Baby Yoda.
mm,
I am sad for anybody who didn't get to experience that moment to learn like where Baby Yoda was. Like one of our friends of the channel, Very Naked Gaming, he doesn't care about spoilers. He likes to know about everything. Like, I told him all about Rise of Skywalker before he saw it because he doesn't care and he wants to know what's going to happen. But, like, I refused to tell him about Baby Yoda. So he was like,
Yeah.
so what happened in The Mandalorian? And I was telling him stuff. And then I'm like, and then I'm not going to tell you about the end. And he's like, no, you should tell me about the end. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you about the end. And then he gets to it and he freaks out. And I'm like, because that end is, like, the best use of spoiler kind of thing I've ever seen.
Right.
Because you spend that whole episode, all you're told is 50 years old. So I'm thinking, like, 50-year-old crusty gangster,
Right.
like, just dirtbag kind of guy. And then you get this little pod, and you're like, what's going to be in the pod? Is it a clue to where he's really going to be? Like, what's going on? And then it was just like is it a baby? And in that moment, my brain goes, wait, they're not gonna. And then you see the ears, and then I'm like, and at this point, I'm not even, like, listening for the rest of the episode. I mean, you guys, 3,000 people have watched me cry on YouTube now because of my Rise of Skywalker video at Celebration. But, like, that's about the most emotion I'll usually get during Star Wars is I'll, like, well up.
Yeah.
But I'm not really, like, a crier by nature. So, like, you can get me to the point of feeling emotion, but when I say, like, oh, this part, it gets me to the point of, like, feeling like crying, but I'm really just so excited that I'm not. But, like, when I saw Baby Yoda for the first time, I'm not exaggerating. I wept. Like, I was sobbing, gasping for breath, like, for, like, 5 minutes. I curled up in
Yeah.
a ball on my bed and just cried. And it wasn't even, like, because he was so cute. It was really the knowledge that he's not real that made me cry, because it was like I had seen the most beautiful, pure thing in the universe, but I was never going to actually see it. And, like, that's why I was crying. Like, it wasn't, I don't know what it was. It was the most spiritual experience I'd ever had watching a Star Wars movie. And
See, but that's funny to me because like all the stories from set are like everybody wants to hold Baby Yoda, and like even the picture that Jon Favreau shared the other day on
right,
Instagram
Yoda.
of George Lucas with Baby Yoda, like yes, like of course that's what we all want. Like
Right, we all want to hold Baby Yoda. And I didn't realize how, to the extent that it was a puppet at the time. Like, when I'm watching it for the first time, I assumed that it was more CGI. And so, but because I was like you, where you were really jazzed for this, I was happy for this. Like, I was excited to have live action Star Wars. But I'm not super into Mandalorians. I don't not like Mandalorians, but they're not my favorite. Bounty hunters aren't my favorite. At least in terms of general subject matter, I have bounty hunters that I like a lot. So I was like, I'm just really excited for the show to do well, because when this show does well, then the other Disney Plus shows we're going to get that I was more excited about at the time, they were going to do well. So, like, I wanted the show to succeed to get the other stuff that I really wanted. And then we got Baby Yoda, and I was like, did they just, like, make me a show? Is that what they decided to do? And you pointed out, I can't believe I didn't make the connection, that it's like a Mandalorian and a Yoda.
Yeah.
And so now I keep waiting for, like, more fan art of us. Somewhere out there we'll get a really obsessive fan that will draw that.
Well, and like talking about making a show for you, I remember watching the second episode, and I
Yes.
woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning that morning, just anyway, and I'm like, oh, Mandalorian is a thing. I'll go watch that instead. And I like texted you. I'm like, this is a thing that was made specifically for you.
Because the second episode really was.
And the eggs, and then Baby Yoda and the Mudhorn. I'm like, oh no, like this was specifically made for Jess. Like, this was like a mass-produced television event that was aimed at an audience of one person.
Just for me. I'm glad everyone else liked the thing that they made just for me, because that would have been awkward if no one else liked it. But I have an obsession with Jawas. I love weird Star Wars. I love that kind of humor. I loved, like, the chase through the thing, like. And then right down to, it was funny, I have a screenshot that I sent to Andy from Star Wars Ramblings. Like, after that, I was like, it would be so cool if they had an episode where, like, because we didn't know that Baby Yoda was Force sensitive yet. And I was like, it would be so cool if they had an episode where, like, they were in a fight or something, and it was, like, they were about to die, and then Baby Yoda uses the Force to save them at the last second. And then that happened in the very next episode. And I was like, this show is great! Oh, man.
So,
The
like, since we're talking about Baby Yoda, like, what do you think? I mean, apart from including him because he's the cutest thing in the galaxy far,
just
far away,
just the best.
um, like, where do you think the show is going with him? Like, we know that the Empire wanted him
Yep.
for reasons that involved, some type of
Some.
genetic thing,
Yep.
and we don't know the specifics of that. But like, where do you think it's going with it?
So I'm really intrigued by the line at the end of the first season. So like this is we're going to be discussing spoilers from the whole show, so be warned. But like the end of the first season is Mando learning more about Baby Yoda because the
Mhm.
armorer knows more about like Jedi and the species and stuff like that. And just the idea that his job now is to either raise and train Baby Yoda or take Baby Yoda back to his people. And like, I'm not sure which one I want more. So like, I really hope we get both. Because on the one hand, I'm with everyone else. I want to see Baby Yoda and Mandalorian armor because that would just be like the best thing ever. Um,
Right.
just this tiny little thing with this helmet with ears sticking out. I don't know. Hey Bob, welcome. And I would love to see that. But like, if they really gave us like Yoda's homeworld, I I am like the only person on the internet I feel like that is completely okay with them taking away some of the mystery around Yoda.
Yeah.
Because like he's my favorite character, so I don't want him to be like I've never needed like the mystery, like he just popped out of Zeus's forehead one day. Like I don't need like the mythology thing. Like you can show me where he's from, you can give me a whole visual dictionary just on the Yoda species. Like I'm gonna be fine. So I'm 100% down if they want to take us to Yoda's homeworld and give us more information about Yoda's species. In terms of what the Empire or the remnants of the Empire wants, Sin mentioned he's going to try to bring Palpatine back. A lot of people wonder if it's not going to be tied to however Palpatine is back. The one scientist guy had a Kaminoan patch on his coat. We still don't know what that means.
Hmm.
Are they trying to clone him? Is he a clone? Or do they just want his genetic information for? I mean, Kaminoans can conceivably do other kinds of science, and
Right.
he's not Kaminoan, so he could just be a scientist that is into other things. But I don't know. I'm after the sequel trilogy. I'm really afraid to speculate. Let me put it to you that way. I'm really afraid to come up with this big theory about what Baby Yoda is for, and then it turns out that he's literally just there because he's cute. Uh,
Right.
Even though in my head his name is Yodel Skywalker. That's what I call him at home.
I mean, the Mandalorian has already not gone the way we thought, so
Right. So like,
so it's already.
why would the second season do that? So I'm excited, and
I mean, and I kind of think the same thing. I think the species is so rare. Like, I think you can see the Empire wanting, especially given what we know about the Inquisitorium and
mm-hmm.
everything like that. Like, any type of force sensitive thing would be a thing that the Empire, even since the Purge, for the last 30 years or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like they would have been interested in that.
Right.
Um, that type of thing, no matter what the species is, but especially because it's Yoda's species, I can feel like there's going to be like a standing order that any information you can get about this type of thing is something that is
Right.
valuable to us anyway.
Right.
But I think above that, the fact that they were doing some kind of testing, makes me think that they have to either be interested in, something along the lines of cloning or trying to, determine the genetics of force powers or something like that. I don't
Right.
know what the specifics are,
Yeah.
but I think that's probably along the lines of what they want out of it.
I would agree. I think it's definitely some kind of we want to study force sensitivity thing.
Yeah.
The logical conclusion to that is Palpatine. I think the reason why some of that's up in the air is we don't know. Yes, welcome, boss. Um, we don't know from Rise of Skywalker's timeline when Palpatine comes back. If it's an instantaneous thing, after Return of the Jedi, then it has nothing to do with the Mandalorian. And if because like he's got to come back with enough time to make Snoke, so that Snoke can start
Right.
preying on Ben. So there's not a lot of time if that's how he's going to tie in. But I think even if it's not that, the Empire having interest in Force sensitives and wanting to study them, especially another member of Yoda's species. I mean, like this is a member of the Grand Master of the Jedi Order's species and a rare
Right.
species. So I think that um, I think we're gonna get more, especially because Gideon's still kicking,
Yeah.
and whatever was going on was Gideon's interest. He kind of has his hand in a lot of pots because he's got, I don't know, that wasn't a phrase, but he's got his hand in a lot of things. Um, because he's interested in the Mandalorians. We see him with the frickin' dark saber.
Yep.
Seeing that in live action was just something. Oh my gosh. Oh, so happy. Other than, okay, I'm gonna get tangented, but anyway, he's interested in the Mandalorians. He's like taken the symbol of leading the Mandalorians, but also interested in Force sensitives and like what does that mean? His Tie
Mhm.
Fighter was really cool. That is true.
Yeah, I like that Tie Fighter too. I remember being kind of blown away.
Yeah.
But speaking of the dark saber, um,
Let
my
let's
youngest
let's let's.
my youngest sister has been watching it, and she just finished the season the other day,
Yeah.
and she was like, "What is that thing that Gideon had at the end?" I'm like, "How much time do you have?"
Right.
Because
My
I
my
feel
my dad has been a big fan of the show, and he was like, "So was that like a lightsaber?" And I'm like, and I know my dad is never gonna watch the cartoon, so I'm like,
so,
it's just a thing. Don't worry about it. It's a cool sword.
I mean, and I'm sure that they'll explain it more in
Oh
season
yeah.
two and have to like because you can't have it and not talk about why it's important.
Right.
But but I was so excited to see it there and just to know. I mean, I would be lying if I said that part of it wasn't just like the vindication of like,
Right.
hey, these other things that I've liked are important in ways that more people will care about now.
Right.
Um,
That's how I felt when Maul showed up in Solo.
oh yeah, sure, and well, I think that asks raises completely different questions too. But given the last person who we saw who had this in each series was not Moff
Moff
Gideon,
Gideon. Yeah. Yeah.
so
No.
like there's
The last person in Rebels was Bo-Katan. Yeah. She was
right, yeah,
supposed to be like leading the Mandalorians and like reuniting them, and it was such this great moment in the last season of Rebels. And now what happened to her? And a lot of that's been a big fan speculation thing too, is that we could see Bo-Katan in the show,
right,
because she's voiced by Katie Sackhoff, who
hmm
is no stranger to acting in live action,
right,
and looks a lot like her character. So could she be the first um, animation to live action like actor jump with character, you know,
right.
that which would be really cool. Hello, Star Wars History Archives. How are you doing? We're doing good. We're talking about the Mandalorian.
I mean, because we saw, or at least we heard, Freddie Prince Jr. and Ashley Eckstein's voice in the Rise of Skywalker, but
Yep.
this would be an even different thing
Yeah, to like
above and
appear.
beyond that,
Yeah.
right? But I think the fact that they go there shows that the people who are making the show, Favreau and Filoni,
Mhm.
like especially like we know this already about Dave, but
Yeah.
there is a commitment there to like establish things about Mandalorian culture,
Yep.
and I think that's it's not just that the dark saber is cool, which I
Yep.
think it is,
Yep.
but like it represents something in canon,
Yep.
like, and it represents something to that culture, and I think it shows that we're going to get more of that. Like they wouldn't have just put that in there as an Easter egg, in this way if it wasn't going to be important going into the next season too.
Yeah.
Um,
Bosk Bounty asked, "Do you think Sabine Wren might make an appearance?" Um, Maybe she's certainly on the list of obvious characters. I think
yeah,
that Dave is going to be incredibly protective of whatever the sequel content to Rebels is. Like
right,
whatever the story of Sabine and Ahsoka hunting for Ezra is, he's going to be really protective about that because he's already kind of been burned once when we didn't think we were getting Clone Wars again. Siege of Mandalore was described in the Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston, who, no shade on her, she could only know what she was told, wrote some stuff for Siege of Mandalore that now Filoni has to either keep with or has already seemingly contradicted, because of Ahsoka's lightsaber colors, which is not relevant to the stream. But like, I would love to see Sabine, but I don't think it's going to come at the risk of screwing up a Rebels sequel.
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
other characters are far more likely. I think.
I think so too. I think we'd be way more likely to see Bo-Katan, or at
Hmm.
least somebody who's a descendant or relative of Bo-Katan. I
Hmm.
mean, we've already seen the Death Watch colors on the Mandalorians in the flashback, right? So like,
Yep.
there's already that connection to that kind of establishes that lineage is not the right word, but like that connection in canon,
Legacy, maybe.
um, legacy, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're gonna see Sabine. I'm looking at my Sabine Funko Pop, who's now staring at me from across the room.
Judging
I
me.
don't think we're gonna see Sabine in. I mean, I would love that
I
if we
would love
did.
it. Yeah.
Like,
For
I
like.
definitely wouldn't say no to that, but I don't think we are, just for the same reason that you list.
Yep.
Although I do think it would be a really cool Easter egg to see some like Sabine graffiti,
Right.
or at some point. Like, I think there are any number of ways you could include like
Um.
references or mentions to her
Or
without including the character itself.
I think you could see Sabine's family too, without it being
Oh,
Sabine.
sure, yeah,
I think
yeah,
you could see her brother or her folks, and find out if they survived whatever the purge of Mandalore was.
right,
And she's not unlikely to show up, especially if during Mandalorian's run. Because right now the rumor is that once Resistance is done and Clone Wars is done, the scuttlebutt is some kind of Rebels sequel show, but that's
right,
in no way confirmed. But if that's really what it is and it's in development now, then I think that ups the likelihood of Sabine showing up, especially if the stories are taking place concurrently. Then you can tell that story.
right. I still think it's more likely, and this may be a hot take. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's more likely that Sabine will be on the show than Boba Fett. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't disagree. I think it's more likely Cad Bane will be on the show than Boba Fett.
okay, now see, this is a different thing. Now I'm just going to talk about the possibility of live action Cat Bane. Um,
Well, that's because what some people think the Spurs are. So in the,
oh, that makes sense.
I can't
Yeah,
remember the numerical number, but the Tatooine episode
I've got it pulled
with
up. Hold on.
Fennec, because I'm still not convinced that ending is what we
Episode 5.
think. I don't think Agent May is dead. I will die on the hill until I find out she has died on a hill, basically. Um, but and just because of that shot where we go back and we see a person and it's never confirmed to us who goes back to her.
Right.
And if it was gonna be Moff Gideon, I think we would have had that confirmed to us. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
know why he would have gone by himself to her.
Yeah.
So I think that yeah, when you watch it with the sniper lady, exactly, Fennec Shan. Um, we still don't know who that is, and the Spurs seem to be the biggest clue, and so people think that it could be a live action Cad Bane, which I would flip. I don't know what I would do. I would probably roll on the floor
Right.
for a while.
Which where is and this is kind of off topic.
Mm-hmm.
Where is we saw that unfinished footage
Right.
of Cat Bane shooting Boba's helmet.
Yep.
Like, is that in the stuff we're gonna get in like 2 weeks?
I don't think it is because none of the stuff I've read has talked about Boba or Cad Bane, but it could be because I think we're only getting 12 episodes. Siege of Mandalore's there. The episodes where Ahsoka goes to the underground or like the lower levels of Coruscant's there.
Mm-hmm.
Bad Batch is there, and I think there's something else, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But but it could be.
Right. I mean, I was just gonna say, if we were getting Cad Bane, it would be an easy reference
Yeah,
to say, "Hey, I've shown down against Boba Fett," or
that's true.
things like that. But I don't think we're gonna see Boba Fett, just because I think Boba Fett is such a big character, not in like screen time,
Right.
at least not in the films, but like it looms so large in the imagination of Star Wars fans that it would
Yep.
overshadow, Din Djarin as
Yep.
the Mandalorian.
Yep.
I just can't see that happening. But I will say I did love the depiction of Mandalorian culture.
Yeah.
In this, again, that's always something that I've been super interested in, and I was really excited, from the very beginning to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have thoughts specifically, like particularly the armor?
Yeah.
I
I
love
love
that.
her. I love her, and the actress's name is amazing. It's like Emily Swallow, I think, and I'm like,
Yep.
that should just be your character's name because that's just a great name. Um, like your signet should be a swallow because that's just cool. No, I loved her. She was so awesome right from the get go. And then like even in the last episode, she just took out like somehow she's the last Mandalorian left.
Yeah.
When the covert gets taken over, and she's still just wrecking everybody. Like she feels like, and not that I've played them myself, but just through watching friends play, she feels like something out of Dark Souls to me.
Oh yeah.
Like she's just there to steal your ember or whatever you do in that game. I don't know. You fight really Freudian bosses in Ember a lot. That's all I know about that game. Um, but no, I thought she was great. I wanted to talk to you about the culture because the culture is so interesting. The like this is the way, and all of the foundlings and everything we see. But their culture is really different than anything we see in Clone Wars or Rebels. And
Right.
I don't think that's something you can chalk up to, well, they just didn't know, because it's Filoni and Favreau. Like, these are the
Right.
Mandalorian experts, so they have to have a plan.
I mean,
Um,
I think that there's two plausible explanations for this. There may be others, but I
mm-hmm.
think the easiest explanations for why, I mean, even the things with like you don't take your helmet off. Like I
Right.
think that's the easiest example
Mm-hmm.
of how this culture is different.
Right.
I think you can either see this as, oh well, just different clans had different ways
Rules.
of doing things, and that
Yep.
would be an easy explanation for why what we see with Death Watch and Bo-Katan and what we
Mm-hmm.
see with Sabine's family and that whole arc of Rebels,
Mm-hmm.
where she's gonna stay and then she ends up not staying, but
Mm-hmm.
like that whole thing, you just say, oh, this is a different clan with a different heritage.
Yep.
um or no, in a similar vein is maybe this is a more ancient type of Mandalorian culture, and this is
Right.
somehow truer than what we see. Even because when we see in the Clone Wars, like there's like been an intentional departure from certain parts of Mandalorian culture anyway. Like
Mm-hmm.
they have moved away from the warrior castes into something intentionally nonviolent, and so
Right.
like that's you could read this as a departure from you know more real. I mean, because like at the end of the day, as hard as it is for me and other people to get at this, like like Django and Boba were not strictly Mandalorian, right? So
Right.
like what we've seen of some of these characters anyway may just be different. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's also possible, given what we know about foundlings being important to Din Djarin in particular, that maybe this is almost like if you are a foundling, then you have to
Prove
like buy
yourself.
into, yeah,
Yeah.
like prove yourself and your devotion to the culture and the way.
Mm-hmm.
um I didn't mean that to be a pun, and this is the way kind of thing. um but it could be that, or like Cal just said in chat, it could be something that since the purge they have just established this as a different type of thing.
Well, my thing with that though, the foundling stuff gets involved, is Din says in the fourth episode that he hasn't taken his helmet off since childhood, and the
Yeah,
and the purge would have
that's true.
happened since sometime after. I mean, like the purge would have happened some point after Rebels, which is
Yeah,
getting close to A New Hope. So he probably wouldn't have been a child anymore.
right. That's a fair point.
But I mean, unless you have that foundlings rule where maybe foundlings had to keep their helmet on, and then after the purge, it became everybody. That's my thing with the foundling bit is like I feel like the more complicated we make the rules, the less fun it becomes. So like
Yeah,
it's like here's the foundling rule, but then if you're I just Mandalorians don't seem like the type for like all that red tape
right.
bureaucracy like kind of thing.
Yeah,
But it's possible. I think the different sex thing makes more sense. I think if you look when he's saved by Death
yeah,
Watch. In his flashback, and then Cal, you might know this. The character in the third episode who's voiced by Favreau has the last name Vizsla, but Vizsla is spelt differently than pre Vizsla. I think the there's the pre Vizsla way from the Clone Wars, and then there's the Mandalorian from the Old Republic, who was like
yeah.
the bounty hunter companion you could get, and she spells Vizsla with an extra letter, and I think it's spelled that way. In this, I could be making that up, but I'm pretty sure it's spelled differently. Anyway, it feels like these guys are being modeled after the more militant side, Um, but even then, Pre Vizsla took his helmet off. I've been thinking about that a
Right.
lot. Did Pre Vizsla take his helmet off to fit in because he was? Yes, Dale has it. Yeah, that's how he spelled it in the credits, and that's the Old Republic character spelling. And I think the movie spelling has a different spell, or the Clone Wars spelling is different. I think, but maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe there's just two spellings. It wouldn't be the first time in Star Wars. There's just a name appeared spelled two different ways. Um, but I whether or not Pre Vizsla like broke the rule so that he could fit in with Satine's Mandalorians,
Right.
or not.
I mean, but I also don't think you have to. Like, I think we have such a tendency as Star Wars fans to take everything that is not 100% in agreement and say, "Oh, retcon."
Yeah.
Like, and I like I don't think you have to go there, and I don't think
Right.
we have to say, "Oh, look how Favreau and Filoni just don't care about all this." I mean, the vast majority of what we've seen about Mandalorian culture is a Dave Filoni thing anyway.
Right.
So, like, the vast majority of all Star Wars screen time is Dave Filoni.
Right.
So, like,
Well,
if we're being real about that.
and the Mandalorian episodes in of themselves separate. The Death Watch is a group that doesn't want to run things the way Satine does.
Right.
So like I think that's already set up in culture to
Yeah.
to be a thing. So
But I loved every bit of that we saw, though, from the importance of the Beskar to like the literal foundry,
yeah.
with the armorer, and like the symbolism of getting your signet,
Yep.
like all of that. I just loved. I mean, even the one part of all that I didn't really like, as much as I love that he wants a jetpack now,
Mm-hmm.
or like wants to be able to learn how to use it better. Like, the one thing of all that I didn't like was after the Mandalorians come out and save him
Yeah.
in that episode where the one like salutes him like War Machine style or something like that. Like, this is what was it when War Machine got rebranded?
Oh,
And
Iron Patriot. Iron
yeah, the Iron
Patriot.
Patriot. Yeah, that's what I thought of. I'm like, well, I like that less, but okay. Um, but apart from that, I really liked it all.
Yeah.
That was what I was expecting from this. So the fact that it delivered,
Yeah.
on all of that, completely met my expectations, even with,
Oh,
all the other fun things that we got.
it's funny too because that episode where all the Mandalorians show up, when I was watching it, like I could somehow recognize that this was going to be a thing that everybody was going to be really excited about. But that
Yeah.
episode, I was also just, like, I still can't watch the third episode without just getting so mad. Like I get so mad, and everyone's like, the third one's my favorite, and I'm like, I can't watch it. And they're like, but he goes back, he gets them later. I'm like, that's a good first step, okay? Like, that is a good step one for your redemption arc after you sold Baby Yoda.
Right.
It was like, the armor looks so cool. I'm like, it's an armor of sin and shame.
I mean, it is literally called the Sin.
It
That's
is
the name
called.
of the episode. What about, not that we have to go like episode by episode, but I think one
No.
of my favorite ones was episode 4, the Sanctuary, when
Yeah.
they go to the other planet and he meets Cardoon, and they fend off the like
Yep.
the rednecks with Imperial tech or whatever,
Yes.
have the Walker. And I think a lot of that, which I really loved, the relationship with the woman that you thought was almost certainly going to betray him at some point.
Hey,
And
she still could. We got another season. I'm holding on to that one. I was getting weird vibes. Weird vibes from her.
But I really love Cara Dune as a character.
Yes, I do too. I love
And
her so much.
as much as I liked Baby Yoda for sure, and Din Djarin, like,
Mm-hmm.
I want more Cara Dune in everything. Like, I want her as, a drop trooper. I want her doing whatever questionable things she does after the end of the war. Like, she's such a compelling character to me. But I really liked everything about that episode. I think was really well done. I think that's probably, apart from the ending 2 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the second one, the child, is just hard to outdo. I think that was one of my favorites.
Yep. Oh yeah, I thought it was a really well done episode. I love Kara. She's kind of like the Rebel Alliance version of Xena, Warrior Princess, and really here for it. Um,
And it reminded me too. What was the character's name in Aftermath, who was like the commando kind of guy?
oh, Jom,
Uh, Jom. Yeah, it reminded me
the
kind of
member
of
of the crew that everyone forgets about.
yeah, who
I
has
literally,
unfortunate
I
endings.
yeah. I mean, like I love everyone. I love the Aftermath books. I wouldn't have spent like over a year on them if I didn't love the books. But when I read them the first time, I didn't reread Aftermath before I got to Life Debt, and I literally read Life Debt like, who is this John guy? And forgot he was in the first book. So
He was there so that you could know for sure that Singer wasn't looking for a relationship. Like we got to give everyone has to have a romantic interest so that we can make sure
we
that
all
we
know who everyone is. Let's see. Oh, Cal asked if Mando redeemed himself in my eyes. I mean, probably. I'm gonna take this time apart to work through my feelings. That's kind of how I feel. No, he's good. He made up for it. He's trying. He's just he's just a confused single dad. That's all.
I mean, we spent a lot of time in various videos talking about the difference between redemption and atonement, and maybe
It's
he does
true.
both.
Maybe he's redeemed
Like,
himself, but he hasn't atoned yet.
what about some of the other? Well, do you have other Cara Dune thoughts?
Oh well, Dale just said that she's from Alderaan. I really liked
Oh,
that
I did too.
as a motivator for why she like she didn't want to go and help until she learned that they were fighting Imperials, and then she's like, I'm in. Like
Yeah,
I think that was really good. I think it also helps with the idea of, oh, she did other things after the war. Okay, well, if you're trying to overcome that level of grief, it makes a little bit more sense how you can do questionable things but still kind of be a hero in the story.
right.
Um, she's. Can I? I'm assuming. I'm the one who sets our language settings on our channel, but I'm just gonna say, she's ballsy because she has a rebel starbird tattooed on her face. Like, there's just no other
Right.
way to describe it. I couldn't think of another way to describe it. But like, you don't tattoo the rebel logo on your face unless you're like, I literally don't care who knows that I'm a rebel.
Right. I mean, and like she has the like things on her arms too, like
Yeah,
her strength on her arms too.
of who
But
she
yeah,
is.
like to walk in and show down with a moth. Like, yep, I got this right here on my face.
Yep, just so you know, no, there's no question. Bosk Bounty said earlier his favorite character is Quill, the Ugnulty.
Yeah,
Um,
I really like Quill too. I liked that we got to know him more after the first two episodes.
yep,
I kind of assumed that we would. I didn't think we were just going to leave him and never see him again.
right.
But I like how he went from only caring about his like I've carved out this little piece of the galaxy. This is mine. I just want to live here
Yep.
by myself. To getting involved and straight up standing up to
Yeah.
Kara and saying, look, we did what we had to do. Like
Yep.
I was a literal slave,
Yep.
and like don't come at me for working for the Empire. Like you weren't who I
I
am.
I really liked that dynamic, and I
Me
really
too.
like that scene because on the one hand, like, yeah, you totally get where Quilt's coming from. He was a slave. He was not wanting to fight at all, and then he's somebody who worked to get his own freedom. But when you're a rebel shock trooper and you're getting shot down by people, it's hard to have the sympathy of the person who just shot my best friend is a slave. Like,
Right.
at that point, you just care that your best friend got
Right.
shot. And that's a very real tension that can come out of war. And I thought they did it in a really good way, but a really efficient way. It's not a long scene. We don't
Right.
spend 10, 15 minutes exploring this. It's just really well written and really well acted and really succinct. And I think the fact that it does happen so quick is part of what really makes it work.
Right. And I love too that he's like the result of that is I'm going to show you how you can earn a living by your, making stuff with your hands, and he builds like a better pod from like scraps that are on the ship. I'm like, okay, like how did you just have the pieces to do this? You know,
He just
like I
does.
guess um what and I was really heartbroken when he died too, and I'm
Yeah.
hoping that we get some other discussion of that going into season two. I would be upset if that was all we ever
Yeah,
got out of that.
if not even to have them like address it or never reference him again or something like that. But yeah, that was sad. Like I wasn't, because we lost both him and 11.
Yeah.
Um, and that just goes to show how wrong I've been about this show every time, because I also wasn't convinced that 11 was going to end up being a good droid. But I've just been I'm suspicious of everyone. After the Mando sold the child, I was like, I cannot trust anyone in this show. Hey Noel, welcome. That was the next time your son cried. I'm glad your son has been enjoying the show so much. But yeah, no, I thought that was really well done. And then with 11 in the next episode, was somebody else we haven't really talked about. But no, I thought he was a good take on the mentor character. Like, there's always that mentor archetype in
Right.
Star Wars, and he was somebody who I really like that in the first episode. He's a mentor to Mando and he's teaching him how to ride, but he's almost doing it out of this weird sense of fandom. He's like,
Right.
you're a Mandalorian. I've read the stories about Mandalorians. And he's
Right.
like, if you're a Mandalorian and you rode the Mythosaur, never mind that it's called the Mythosaur, but whatever.
Yeah.
If you rode the Mythosaur, like, you could ride a blurg. I just like hearing him say blurg too. You should do this. And the underlying, like, especially if you go back and watch it knowing he's a foundling and his ancestors didn't ride the Mythosaur,
Right.
in that kind of undertone. But I liked that he was this mentor, but almost like this mentor fanboy for a little bit, and then
Right.
and then they became friends, and then that changed the dynamic. And he has a sense of honor, but it's not a sense of honor that necessarily calls him to the larger fight. Like,
Right.
I think he goes out of respect for Din, and he goes out of respect for Yodel, but not because it may be somewhat to get back at his Imperial captors, but I don't think it's necessary to free the galaxy. You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
think so. I don't think it's that type of principled thing. Like I think he understands that oppression is a bad thing, for
Mm-hmm.
whoever it is. But I don't. He's not like going to join, the New Republic forces.
Right.
Even if he hadn't died, he's not like enlisting to go fight against evil.
Right.
Um, but that doesn't make him like less principled. He's just
Right.
less involved.
Yeah. He's not called to the bigger fight, and not
Right.
everybody needs to be. And he certainly proved himself a hero, even though he wasn't called outside of his friendship.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
and really a big part of his story was 11, IG-11, and like
right.
recouping 11 and retraining 11, and then 11 being how a big part of how they're able to escape at the end.
Well, and I think that speaks to Queel's like belief in redemption, like
Yeah.
the idea that you can take something that was programmed, like literally programmed to
Yep.
cause harm, and make it into, the source of salvation. Like I
Yep.
think that speaks to who Queel is as a character as much as what IG-11 becomes by the end of the series.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I liked that dynamic because they set up Din to hate droids
Droids,
the whole
yeah.
season, and it makes sense because droids, like, he lost his family in the Clone Wars against droids, and he was found by the Mandos. And so I think it works for him to have that, but then to have him bond with 11 by the
Yeah.
end of that episode, I thought was nice. And then Taika is just fun. He did a good
Right.
job with the voice.
Speaking of other characters that kind of change across the series, what about Grief?
Greef
Carl Weathers'
Karga.
character. Yeah.
He's fun. Cause like the first couple episodes, he's just like, hey Mando, like, you're making me the money because you're doing the Mando thing. And then he turns on Mando pretty fast, and then is like turning on him again when they go back. My kind of I feel like, as much as I love Din and Baby Yoda together, my favorite interactions are like Greef and Baby Yoda.
Oh yeah. Do the hand wavy thing.
Do the magic hand thing. dude, he's and Dale's like, he's trying to eat me. I love that line. He's just like, what is this thing? And I love seeing Yodel heal him.
Right.
Especially because that was set up in the second episode. He tries to heal
Hmm.
Mando, and Mando's like, "Get back in your car seat! Like, what are you doing?" Um, and I personally like. I think it could be something as simple as Yodel saved his life, so he like decides to help them because maybe he really
Right.
wasn't that terrible. But there's a part of me like this is where I start trying to connect the show more to Rise of Skywalker than we need to in a Mandalorian stream. But I did talk about it in my second Ray video if anyone's interested. But like I think that some part of whatever this new Jedi healing power is that we've seen um, is both physically healing and spiritually healing. And so I kind of
Hmm.
wonder if Baby Yoda didn't change him. Oh, I don't know how you can come in contact with Baby Yoda and not be changed
Right.
as a person.
But I like too that I think there's a certain admiration that Star Wars asks of us for anybody that has a code and lives by it specifically, like because that's like the whole, not the whole reason we're supposed to admire the Jedi, but
Mm-hmm.
that's part of it. And I like that he sticks to that code until he realizes how flawed it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also, this may be dumb and completely subjective, but one of the reasons I really like Grief's character is
Mm-hmm.
that his dialogue feels like the most George Lucasy to me because it's so like stilted at times, like the way he talks. I'm
Yeah.
like, are you sure George Lucas didn't write this? Like, you can write this, but you can't say it, right?
Yeah.
Like that. That's the whole thing, and it just felt a different type of familiar to me.
Yeah. I
Um,
could see that. He felt like a very George Lucas character for sure. It's just like
um,
that, just a little bit larger than life kind of character.
right.
Um, and I liked that kind of ally for Din that then isn't an ally, and then it's like, can you trust him? And I like the idea that now like he and Kara are gonna be a team. Um, uh, because he's like, oh yeah, if you come like help me out, I'll wipe your slate clean. And
Right.
I think that's a cool place to leave the two of them, and it also makes it easier. Like if we want to get the team back together in the second season, you don't have to go to one planet to find her and another planet to find him, and she doesn't have to be on the run and all of this stuff. So it's a good way to leave it, and I would love to see. I think it's kind of an unlikely friendship, but an under maybe not underrated, but not really highlighted. But I think
Mhm.
Reef and Kara could be really fun together,
I think so too.
as like a buddy cop bounty hunter kind of dynamic.
And we don't have time to talk about every secondary character, but I will say I loved how this show used, its full cast.
Yep.
Like even just that we get Amy Sedaris who like babysits Yoda for a
Hmm.
while, and like I love to hate the mercenary crew in the prisoner
Yep.
episode, when Bill Burr slaps him,
Well, and
baby
then you
Yoda.
then you have Clancy Brown, who's the Devorian,
Oh yeah,
however you pronounce that, and that's the voice of Savage Press,
yep.
and also the voice of Mr. Krabs. So that's a fun thing.
See, that's the
Um,
type of thing I wouldn't know having never watched
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob.
Um, and then am like, and then I really wonder if Jason Sudeikis will live the rest of his life where like no one will remember anything he's done. They'll just come up like, "Why'd you punch Baby Yoda?" And that's just what he's
No.
going to be known for forever.
I mean, and his voice is so recognizable
It
too.
is. It
It doesn't
really.
matter that you're a scout trooper. Like we all know.
We
Like
know it's you,
you can't hide
Jason
from us,
Sudeikis.
Jason Sudeikis.
Because like
Um,
up until now, if I ever got the chance to meet him, I'd like talk to him about Portlandia or something. And now I'm gonna be
no,
like, "Why did you punch my son?" And he's gonna be like, "Why does everyone say that?" Like,
no.
because you punched you chose to punch Baby Yoda.
One other character that we haven't talked about at all. I don't know that we even know his name, but Werner Herzog's
Oh
character,
yeah,
the
I just
Imperial
call him
guy.
Werner Herzog.
Like, what did you think about him? One, you can't not like Werner Herzog. Like, I
Right.
feel like, um,
He's just such a strange person to throw into Star Wars. I love that, like, if you follow his interviews, Like,
Hmm.
he starts with not really knowing what Star Wars is, and then he became like a Star Wars super fan. And there's like an
Right.
interview out there of him talking about like it's just this mythology and blah blah blah. And then yeah, they mostly called him the client. But I love that, and then I love how he came to speak for us as a
Yeah.
people.
Well, see the
I
baby.
want to see the baby. I don't think that was in the script. I don't think they were even meant to be rolling. I think that was just Werner Herzog. Like, why is the baby not in the pod? I want to see the baby, and then they
Yeah.
decided to put that in the episode. And then he was like, don't make it CGI, you cowards. Like, he was just like, or like, there's stories that he would just talk to the puppet on set. Like,
Yeah.
I'm all there for the love affair that is Werner Herzog and Baby Yoda. Oh man. Um, so there's some discussion going on in the chat as to whether or not Yodel could be. Yodel's not evil. He could, like all Force users, go to the dark side, like because he uses Force choke, but like he also uses Force heal. And the only other person we've seen use heal in canon to date is Rey, who is like doing it out of pure compassion. Like, I don't think,
Right.
like, healing has always been a light side power, even in Legends, and comes from a place of compassion and selflessness. So I think right now Baby Yoda is neutral because Baby Yoda's a baby.
Do you think though? So like, I'm assuming that part of the story of season 2 is going
Mm-hmm.
to be, Den looking for the Jedi in some form or fashion, or looking for Yoda species. Looking for a way to to return him to his people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think that Baby Yoda needs a teacher, or do you think that he would be just fine as a Force adept
Is Baby
on his
Yoda
own?
Mary Sue? Is that what you're asking?
I mean, not really. I'm just saying,
No, that was
like,
just that was a joke. Sorry, I
okay.
said that. I said that way too seriously.
but like does he need to go connect with Luke or Ray
I
or
want him to. I don't know that he
I mean
needs
I
to.
do too,
I
but like
want I want Baby Yoda and Rey hanging out so much. Could Yaddle have survived? I don't know in current canon if she had, like, what happened with Yaddle. In Legend, she died before the Clone Wars.
yeah,
I don't know what her canon is in the new ones. And people are correcting me. Yes, Ben does use Force Heal in the movie. I guess my head canon is he uses it. The only reason why he can use it is because it's his other half of his dyad. My head canon is not that Ben could have healed anyone else. But that is a discussion for not the Mandalorian stream. But that is why I had a brain fart and forgot that he used it. But
I mean I guess my question is, does, like, if Baby Yoda ended up
yep,
living out, with the Mandalorians from
right.
now until forever, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
No,
But would he run the risk of being like an untrained Force user, with the risk of dark side stuff because he never had a
I
teacher,
I
or can he be fine?
I think I don't think he necessarily needs a force teacher, but I think maybe somebody with
Hmm.
a bit of a different moral compass. Because the thing is,
Yeah.
when you're a person who does not have force powers, and I think that this is the fundamental difference that not a lot of people either accept or pick up on or believe in or
Hmm.
what have you. But the way I've always read Star Wars is if you are force sensitive, your emotional stability is drastically more important. Because, like, me as a person, I could have one day where I'm really ticked off.
Right.
But like, I'm also not tapped into the life energy of the whole universe, right?
Right.
Versus, like, if you are tapped into the life energy of the whole universe, you first of all, you're more dangerous. So if you're angry, you're more likely to do something with a greater consequence that you have to live with the rest of your life. Again, see something that almost happened in Rise of Skywalker that was a fake out. uh, Versus, if you're just screaming at someone and you say some words that you regret for the rest of your life. I think I lost Jen. Oh nope, you're there. Okay,
I'm here.
I thought I lost you. You're sitting very still.
Hmm.
You're sitting very
I'm,
still.
I'm like a ninja.
You're like Drax. I couldn't see you for a second.
Yeah.
So anyway, that kind of big tangent was. I once did a Twitter thread of like pictures of Drax, but it was like pictures that did not have Drax in them, and the number of people who did not get what I was. Anyway, That's not related.
Drax just makes me want to ask why is Claude,
Why is
but
Claude?
that's
Again, for
but
another
that's
stream. Hey Yagi, welcome. But anyway, so I think that Yodel would need some kind of moral guidance that isn't a bounty hunter. Because like,
right.
while I think Din is a good person as far as bounty hunters go, why I do think he is somebody who has honor, he is also somebody who is a bounty hunter and isn't asking why the bounty is on any of these people's heads, before he goes after them and that sort of thing. So I think that to be raised in a warrior culture might be
Mm-hmm.
dangerous for a force user. I
Yeah.
mean, like technically, yeah, the Jedi are warriors, but like they come with a very different philosophy than Mandalorians, and so I think
Right.
whether or not he needs like Jedi training, I don't know, but I think he'll need something that isn't this is the way.
So you're saying you don't want Baby Yoda to become the new Mandalore?
I didn't say that. I just said that he would need some guidance, but like Baby Yoda and like a tiny little set of armor with a giant
so,
dark saber. I mean, I'm not gonna complain.
so where do you think like this is gonna go in season 2? Like if we had to, I mean, it's still like months away,
Right.
but like what kind of things would you? I mean, I think it's fair to say like the straightforward things like we're gonna be looking for some type of remnants of Jedi or
Right.
Yoda culture somewhere, but like what do you expect out of season 2?
Well, Gideon, I think, will want revenge and
Mm-hmm.
we'll still be hunting Baby Yoda. So I don't think he's done, and I think that will cause them to reconnect with Grief and Kara. He even could go. I mean, they're still on the same planet, so he could go after Grief and
Right.
Kara, and that causes the Mando to come back.
Mm-hmm.
As well as we haven't seen what's happened with the armorer. So I think that would be a logical thing. I think we'll learn more about why people were after Baby Yoda in the first place. Um, and then I feel like it's either going to be a thing where they look for Yoda species for a while and they can't find it, or they find Yoda species right away. But the thing is, I just don't see them. I mean, this is a good question for everybody. Do you think there's going to come a season of The Mandalorian now that doesn't have Baby Yoda? Like, do you think the Mandalorian, the show, could like if they find Yoda's planet and Yoda's people, and he leaves Baby Yoda with his people, and then the Mandalorian as a show continues on? Do you think fans would riot? Like,
I mean, for myself, I say probably not.
yeah,
Like I
I
think
I
it
know for me, but I'm
like and I don't think like some people will say, oh, it's just it's a marketing thing, and Disney wants to make sure there's something cute and adorable that they can sell toys of, and maybe
right.
that's the case. But I think the story of who Din Djarin is as a character now is connected to Baby Yoda in a way
Mm-hmm.
that I just don't know that you can completely separate from. I think I mean maybe it is that he drops him off with some type of forced sect, or he finds
Yeah,
his planet, and that's how the series ends, and that's the
I could see that as a
the
series
ending.
end. Yeah.
Like, maybe that's 2 or 3 4 however many seasons down the road.
Mm-hmm.
um the only way I think this goes forward without Baby Yoda is if somehow Baby Yoda doesn't survive. um
No, the internet would riot. The internet, like, if you think hashtag bring back Ben Solo is bad, like, I'm sorry, Ben Solo stands, but if you think that's a lot right now, if they killed Baby Yoda,
um,
like, I think people would storm Lucasfilm. I think there
I
would
don't
be a
I don't
march.
think you're wrong. I think a lot of that would depend on the particulars of it. But I think that's the only way. Is if Baby Yoda's just off the table completely.
Right.
That's the only way that the show goes on without him.
Unless we then get Force Ghost Baby Yoda
There you
following
go.
him around. Who is
Still toddler.
still a toddler as a Force Ghost.
Eating force frogs.
No, just eating frogs, like in the real world. He's like, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
care. He just phases up behind them, like, rah.
or or you get a scene of Force Ghost Yoda and Force Ghost Baby Yoda just shows up and he's like, wait, like what is this? I didn't sign up to babysit anybody. Um,
Why are you?
but but I don't know. I think either way, the ending of the story is like end game. Like I think
Yeah,
that's where the
they go
story
back in
ends.
time, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, exactly. Yes, time heist. They go back and get actual Yoda and bring
No,
him. He's
the time travel is this is actual Yoda as a
oh yeah,
50-year-old.
just boot him back through the world between worlds into the past.
Several centuries, and then
That's Project Luminous, right? High
that's
Republic.
oh, dude, there's a part of me that wants to joke, and then there's a part of me that's like, who knows what could happen at this point? Like, let's be careful. I used to joke about Ray Palpatine, so let's be careful. Oh no, I see a couple of people saying like I think it could be a thing too where he'll drop maybe drop Baby Yoda off for a couple episodes. Um, yeah, thanks, boss. Thanks for hanging out. Good to see you guys. Boss Bounty has a great channel for collectibles. So if you're into Star Wars collectibles, you check that out. And John Barry in the chat also has a Star Wars YouTube channel where he does a lot of reviews. So keep that in mind. But no, I could see that where they go to Yoda's like planet, or they find some Force people, leave him for a couple episodes, and then like Baby Yoda's like screw this and pilots a ship for the first time, and then goes and finds his dad. Like I
You're
could
not my
totally
real dad. This guy is.
this guy, I'm gonna go find my dad who sold me once. You know, there really
I mean, it
are a
could.
lot of parallels between Baby Yoda and Rey. I'm just saying.
I mean, it could end up that Baby Yoda is secretly a Palpatine. There you go.
I mean, to be fair, if anyone has like a lot of strange alien children in the galaxy, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Palpatine.
I mean, I think Lando and Rail Eveross both come higher on that list, but maybe that's just me. Um, um,
I think there's definitely a couple of characters. Like, I think it's probably about 5 characters in the Star Wars universe that are responsible for about 50% of the universe's population, and that's
I mean, that was
about
the
right.
whole thing with Jenna, right? Like, she might be Lando's daughter, and I just wanted to say, yeah, her and how many hundred other people.
Right, her and everyone else in her squad, all Lando's children.
Like, that's how the First Order survived, right? They just went around finding Lando's ex-lovers and taking their kids.
It's so terrible.
It really is.
So, oh,
Especially since Lando was in a happy, committed relationship in Last Shot.
in canon.
um,
Oh,
but so, one other thing I want to ask you. I know we're I guess overtime.
yeah,
But
it's all right.
do you think that we'll get ancillary material like a Mandalorian book or comic?
I
Or
hope so. Because Clone Wars used to get a bunch of ancillary material. Rebels got some. It had like Jason Fry's Servants of the Empire series, which I still need to read, but at least like I know they exist. Resistance has gotten like nothing, and Mandalorian has gotten like nothing. So I would hope that they're gonna do more tie-in material, but we'll see. I mean, without movies for a couple of years, they're gonna have to make tie-in material for something. I'm surprised that we didn't get a novelization of Fallen Order, to completely change the subject, because the Force Unleashed games, both games had novelizations.
right?
So
How quickly were they released at the same time?
yeah, because I at the time I couldn't play Force Unleashed or Force Unleashed 2. I've still never played Force Unleashed 2, but I read the novel. But I read the Force Unleashed novel when it came out. It might not have been out same day, but it wasn't a long wait if there was one.
Which I remember the episode 3 novelization came out a few weeks before the film.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with the prequels they had a completely different sense of mystery box.
Yeah.
But I mean, you also kind of knew where it was going. It wasn't going to be like plot twist. Anakin wasn't really Anakin. Um,
It was Anakin Palpatine.
Anakin Palpatine. I mean, a lot of people think that. So again, Palpatine could be responsible for a good quarter of the galactic population.
There you go. Except the difference is, it's every time Palpatine tries to like create life in the dark side,
Yeah.
it's like a different kid pops up somewhere else miraculously to an unwed virgin mother somewhere. like
There's
they're,
like
they're just,
there's this giant like immaculate conception crisis in the
yeah,
galaxy, and no one knows
it's
what's
like
going on.
like the baby boom after World War II. It's just it's a whole generation of kids that just showed up for no reason.
It's a whole new kind of baby boomer.
Yeah.
It's like, oh dear, this is the content you tune in for.
This is what happens after we hit the stop button on the
This
screen.
is usually a conversation. Yeah, you guys missed the whole conversation in front of a video we recorded last week about Claude, but that's okay.
But I'm still excited with. I think we'll probably get more trailers around Celebration ish. Is kind of what I'm
Oh yeah,
expecting.
especially because that'll be
Um,
August this year.
yeah,
So that and it's supposed to come back in fall. So I would say probably
maybe even like,
Celebration.
yeah, or maybe even like Comic Con
So
and,
yeah, they might. I don't know. We'll see because if they have Celebration, I don't. Hello, Comic Con sooner, so I don't know.
yeah,
But to me, because they won't have a movie to talk about at Celebration, I think they're gonna make it big on Mando. Because
right.
I don't know what other big ticket thing they're gonna have. Hopefully, we'll have at least 3 panels just on Baby Yoda.
Yeah, Dale, when we get our Patreon set up, we'll give you the after
we
show there.
we have we've kind of thought about that of like when we eventually set up a Patreon, just be like, okay, these are the off stream conversations that we have.
John, I think I'll answer that on behalf of the both of us. I think there's really only one author who we would trust, and her name is Karen Travis. And I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. So thanks for coming out to this.
You know, it was funny when you had the stop button, but now I have the stop button. So that doesn't work as well anymore, Terry. Because this goes as long as I have the button going. What if the child is at Celebration? Oh my gosh, I would freak out.
But no, I think there are a lot of authors that could do a really good job.
For Mando, you
I mean,
know,
I think that type of thing is going to be outside of some of the canon authors kind of thing.
yeah.
I just, E.K. Johnston writes different types of novels that have like more emotional connections, and I think would fit. But I think any number of current canon authors would be good for it.
I think Daniel Jose Older would be good for a Mandalorian book.
I think so too.
His tone, I think, would work really well for it.
Yeah, sure.
He's already on Luminous, so I don't know. But I keep saying like so and so is probably not going to do anything else because they're on Luminous, and then you have Charles Soule who's writing half of Star Wars right now. So
right,
there's no saying that Older couldn't also get a Mando novel. Dawson would be good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially based off the Phasma novel, like I think she could write, a bleak kind of warrior culture story.
I think she could pull it off. I think she'd be a good one.
I would also be interested, to the extent that, like if we get early, Din Djarin stories, like in the Clone Wars era, I wouldn't mind bringing back some of those authors that told, those types of stories too in Legends.
Yeah, I think there's room.
That would be a good in for some of those authors too
to come back, or even to kind of keep in the current crop we have. I think Roan Horse would be good too. She had a really good tone for combining lots of things in canon, and making it not like no shade on Wikipedia, but it is an encyclopedia. Like to make you feel like you're reading all this stuff, but not feel like you're just reading an encyclopedia entry. I think she would be good for that too. And she's already writing there's this Clone Wars anthology that's coming out that like everyone keeps forgetting about. And she's writing a story for that. So now I do think I lost Django because now he looks very blurry. Are you back?
I think maybe my internet.
Okay. Well, let's take that as a portent of the future.
Yep.
and wrap the stream up. But thank you guys for hanging out. If you haven't already, please like the stream on your way out. We
Yep.
should be back next week, same as usual. I'm not sure we know what we're talking. I actually it'll be post resistance, so maybe resistance next week.
Yeah, if not next week, then probably
The week
for
after. So
Resistance, I
we'll
think.
have
Yeah.
resistance for sure soon. But
But yeah, if to that end, if you have questions or things you want us to do streams about, we're about to be back into that territory where there are not really easy topics of things to do. So if it's a Rise of Skywalker thing you want us to talk about, or
yeah,
something else, drop it in, because Mandalorian's finished for now. Resistance is finishing up. We don't have new books until March,
mm-hmm.
so like we're down for suggestions.
Yep, and Discord right now is probably the best place to drop those. So should consider joining that if you haven't already. But thank you guys so much for being here and the live reading of the Crystal Star. So we have ideas. We have ideas. That is good. We both have our copies of the Crystal Star. We're going to start reading it soon, and we're going to document our journey. So don't you worry.
Yep, fun stuff coming for that. We promise.
But thank you so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.